I started reading the Bible heavily when I was in the military. And then when I got out, I applied it because I was going through a lot of trauma, mental trauma, obviously a trauma of just a bad mental space of where I was mentally post-military. Started diving into the Bible. And what I realized that if I wanted to live a happy life, a wealthy life, a prosperous life, there's values and principles inside this book. It's more than just, your typical stories that you hear at Christmas time and Santa Claus and Christmas time, hallelujah, that type of stuff. No, there's rules and laws here that transcend the test of time, at least in my opinion. I think many others that are watching this video may share the same opinion too as well. But I never looked at the Bible as an instruction manual to seek stories and examples of success. And one of the examples of success was in Matthew 25 in the New Testament. Matthew 25 starts at verse 14. It's called the parable of the talents. So the parable of talents goes like this, and I'll paraphrase here throughout this video, but it begins with a master. He had lined up his servants. He's about to go on a long journey. And so he lines up his servants and said, listen, I'm about to go on a journey, but I want to see what you do with money. I want to give you talent, which is money. Talents is money. It's an equivalent factor. And he said, I'm going to give you money, talents, according to your ability. So line it up, 1, 2, 3. One he gave 5 talents. The other one he gave 2 talents. And the other one he gave 1 talent according to Scripture, according to his ability, underlined to his ability. I'll reference that here in a second. And then he left. And immediately, as soon as the master left, the one who got 5 talents, he went to work. Boom, 5, he turned into another 5. The same thing happened when they got 2. So he's got 2 talents, boom, he immediately went to work, turned into 2. The one that got 1 talent, again, according to the ability, got 1 talent. And what did he do? He didn't turn 1 into another 1. He turned 1 and he was fearful and he buried it in the ground. He buried it. Why? Operated out of fear. Make a long story short, the master returns. He says, what'd you do with my money? What'd you do with my talents? He says, master, I took the 5 talents and immediately made another 5 talents. So I'm giving you a total of 10 talents back. Wow. Master says, my good and faithful servant, what you've done with the least, you'll be blessed with the most. To one, he gave 2 talents, again, according to his ability. He says, what'd you do with my money? What'd you do with my talents? He says, listen, I took your 2 and I made it to 2 as well. So here's a total of 4 talents back at you. Again, he says, wow, my good and faithful servant, which you've been trusted with the least, you'll be blessed with the most. And now the drama starts to increase. It goes, hey, you, the one I gave 1. But basically, I gave you 1 talent according to his ability. What'd you do with my money? What'd you do with my talents? He says, master, I know what type of guy you are. Again, I'm paraphrasing. He goes, I know what type of guy you are. You just make money out of nowhere. You create things, you make things happen. Nobody knows how you do, but you just make things happen. I know the type of guy you are. And listen, man, I'm afraid of you. I'm afraid of the way you do things. And I just don't want to lose what you gave me. So instead of making 1-to-1 like the other 2 did, and I should have watched them, guess what he says? He says in verse 25, I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. He says, see, here's what belongs to you. So he just returned him his 1 talent. Master replies, you wicked and lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I returned, at least it would have gained some interest. That's what he's saying. That's he said, listen, you should have put my money to work somehow, some way, even if you didn't want to do it. At least the bankers would have done something with it. They would have gotten some interest when I came back. And so what he did is he took that talent, he took the 1 talent he gave that servant, gave it to the one who made the most with it. And he says this in this verse, check this out. He says in verse 29, for everyone who has will be given more, and he will have abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken from him. And here's the last part about this. He says, and throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness when they'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Wow. What an end to that parable. What an end to that story. So here's how I internalize it. By the way, these are the red words. These are the words, depending on what type of Bible you're reading. These are stories that Jesus talked about and shared. And when I'm reading this, here's how I take it. And by the way, I love your opinion on it. But here's my 5 things that I took from it. When I read this for the very first time, I unpacked it and I analyzed every verse, every sentence, and how it applied to my life. Here's where I was at a particular point in my life. I was divorced. I was a single father with 3 kids. I was so broke. I had like a 400 or 500 credit score. I had less than 200, 300 bucks in the bank at most. I had all my credit cards maxed. That was bad. I had 3 different jobs. I was a Jiffy Lube hood technician. I was a Olive Garden server. I was a YMCA lifeguard. And then I was just starting my business in the insurance industry. And then this Bible verse, this Bible parable comes across my way. It's amazing how God works. And I'm reading this. I took 5 things from it. And these are some of the things that, and by the way, let me share with you something I kept in my Bible from my broke moments. I actually kept an ATM receipt. I keep this ATM receipt. And maybe we'll show this, but we'll show a visual of this. But I kept this ATM receipt because I remember there was a moment in my life where I was so broke. I was so broke. And I was like, man, let me just feed my kids. And I go to the ATM machine at Dominic's when Dominic's was still around. And there's an ATM machine there with the ATM receipt still sticking out of it. And I was just curious how much money somebody before me took out of the ATM. Here I am, I'm just struggling to take $20. So I take this ATM receipt, whoosh, I pull it, boom, 500 bucks. Somebody before me took out $500, the daily maximum limit. And then on top of that, not only did they take out $500, but they left $114,000 still in the checking account. And this is at a moment in time where I was absolutely broke. So a couple things, man, I was going through at that moment. I was reading this Bible, and next thing you know, this ATM receipt, I said, "Please, Lord, you have a funny sense of humor." And I started understanding what the good Lord was saying to me through Scripture. Number 1, don't operate out of fear. He says, listen, because you operated out of fear, he got cast out. Because he operated out of fear, he didn't learn from his buddies. One took 2 talents, made 2 talents. The other one made 5 from his original 5 talents. He wasn't asking questions. He was operating out of fear. He kept his lens closed, his mind closed, his heart closed. Everything was closed. He said, listen, man, I don't want to get in trouble, man. I'm just going to bury it in the ground. And when I'm looking at this guy, he got fired. He's not even a servant. And there's some people watching this video say, listen, I'm good, but I operate out of fear. Listen, you may be on the radar, but you're not a servant. If you believe in the word, if you believe in what the good book says about what you can do out of your life, and you operate out of fear, well, guess what? You're not even a servant, in my opinion. I might be wrong. But when you're operating out of faith, you say, okay, I trust you. When you operate out of fear, you say, I don't trust you. Consider that. The second thing here, okay, because he didn't understand how to make more money, how to take his talents to grow, not only did he operate out of fear, but he didn't even earn interest. At least he could have put it in the bank. In other words, they weren't even saving money. They weren't investing money. They weren't allowing the seed, which is what money really is. Money is just a seed. It's capital, so you can allow it to grow. For me, I took money. It was capital into my business. I took 500 bucks. So in this video, I share with you how I took my seed of $500 and over my totality of my career, we created a $45 million business out of it. Because I decided not to operate in fear. I decided to operate in faith. And I allowed my money to earn and grow. And he said, listen, even if you were fearful, the easiest way for you to gain some confidence, and for me as the master to start being happy, if you feel that in your heart of hearts that your money is merely a tool, that your money is merely currency, that you're just a steward of what the good Lord gives you, then you should be earning interest on your money. There should not be a scenario where we should be living paycheck to paycheck. We should not be living broke to broke. We should not be experiencing this wealth gap. But why are we? A lot of you say, well, Matt, it's the external factors, Matt. It's the external factors, Matt. Well, dude, I totally get it. I was experiencing those same external factors too as well. But I didn't operate out of fear. I wasn't waiting for nobody to tell me to do something. I definitely wasn't waiting for my money not to earn any money. I was finding ways to make my money grow. And my encouragement to you, if you're watching this, my encouragement to you during this holiday season, please, if you want to have 2021 be the most financially prosperous year for you, you got to tuck money away, not operate in fear, and have your money earning interest. Allow it to grow, allow it to manifest. That could be a seed that creates a new harvest in your life.